Prem Aggan, you won the Filmfare Best Debut Award.
I don't think I deserve that award, to be very honest with you. And I'm the hugest fan of Ram Gopal Varma, okay? I've seen Satya, I've seen Rangila, whatever. Big, I mean, my dream would be to work with this man. I call him RGV. I gave him the name RGV, by the way.
Okay.
I was the first one to call him RGV. My father was very clear with me. He said, son, we tried, we failed. Directors who are naturally funny and love the genre, whether it's Sajid or whether it's Anis Bazmi, Rohit Shetty, of course. I was very fortunate to work with, directors that understood comedy. I was the first person signed for Hey Baby. Hi, this is Fardeen Khan and you're watching Bollywood Hungama.
Prem Aggan, you won the Filmfare Best Debut Award.
Yes.
You get the attention, and everyone is interested. He's this new, good-looking boy.
Yeah.
What happened after that? How did you deal with the pressures that come with it?
Firstly, I don't think I deserve that award. To be very honest with you, it was a culture and stuff back then that people got awards like that. When I look at my work, I definitely didn't deserve that. So anyway, let's move on. How did I do it? The film didn't work. I didn't work. When I look back, I thought I was horrible. I sat at home for a whole year. I had no work. The films I had signed before that, people took their monies back. I had spent some of the monies that I had been given, so I had to return those monies. And my father was very clear with me. He said, son, we tried, we failed. He says, I will give you a roof over your head and food for 1 year. And he gave me 50,000 rupees a month, and he says, now you got to do it on your own. So he says, we tried, I failed, it didn't work. So half my contemplation happened in this apartment. I used to live here. So I remember, and then I also bought a car, an Opel Astra, and my EMI was 22,000. So and then I had about 28,000 remaining out of the 50,000 I used to get from my father for 1 year. Right. So I had to manage my whole life in those 28,000 rupees, and plus I had this car which I couldn't afford the gas for. So he was very strict, my dad. And because he was a completely self-made man, and he says, he just didn't believe in protecting you against, and especially in terms of an economic reality. And he says that's one of the most important things you have to learn for yourself, to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. And so that whole year went by. Of course, I went into a bit of a shell for some time because obviously no one wanted to. The reviews were awful. No one wanted to work with me. And then I kind of picked myself up, dusted my boots, started getting back to the gym, working out, and coming up with a plan to meet people and going out there and I just continued working on my Hindi, which was really bad for my first film. And as luck would have it, Ram Gopal Varma was told about me by 2 people. And I get a random call at about 10:30 at night. Literally a random call.
From Ram Gopal Varma.
From a friend of mine, a close friend of Ramu's. And so Ramu was with that friend at that point in time, at that night. And that friend called my friend called me. And I said, it's got to be a joke, man. And I'm the hugest fan of Ram Gopal Varma, okay? I've seen Satya, I've seen Rangila, whatever. Big. My dream would be to work with this man. And this friend of mine tells me, Ramu wants to meet you right now. Can you go meet him? And I didn't believe it. I was like, what the F, man? I said, you're bullshitting me. I said, it's not possible. So I was sitting right here, actually, in the living room upstairs. And he said, no, I'm serious. And it was a friend of mine, Biren Patel, actually. So I said, I can't. He said, you go and meet him right now and whatever. I said, what do you mean go meet him right now? I said, it's 10:30, 10:45 at night. And I said, can I at least talk to him on the phone before I go? Otherwise, it'd just really be awkward. What if it's all dropped? I didn't believe it. So suddenly he comes on the line. This friend connects us both, and literally in the next 10 minutes, and I'm talking to Ram Gopal Varma. Fardeen, what are you doing? Can you come see me now? I said, yes, sure. I recognize his voice, and then I go over to Warsaw.
This is how he talks.
I go over to his place, and he was at a friend's house in Warsaw, and we We sat. He was with some friends. We just sat, whatever. He talked to me for 15, 20 minutes, just a normal conversation. And he took me aside, and he just said, "There's something I see in you," and he says, "We're working together." And I couldn't believe my ears or what I was hearing or whatever. He just put his hand out, struck me, and he said, "We're working together." And even Bharat Bhai Shah, the late Bharat Bhai Shah, he had spoken well about me. He was someone who kind of liked my personality or my look or whatever it was. And he was because he financed Jungle. He presented Jungle, so that's how it all happened.
The reviews were positive
Yes,
for you, for the film.
yes,
And there was a lot of interest because it was one of the better Ram Gopal Varma films, where he was in his element. And now suddenly, I think everyone started taking notice of you.
Yeah, no, of course. That was my resurrection, so to speak. You know, I was in deep waters after Prem Aggan, you know, so that gave me a chance to resurrect myself to whatever degree I did with Jungle, and of course it was a very different kind of a movie compared to what I had done with Prem Aggan, and it was a different character. And, you know, it was I of course I probably could relate to it more. You know, just the whole setting. It was more contemporary. Ram Gopal Varma was a different generation of filmmaker. Yeah, so it worked out really well. And then the next thing you know, we did two more films together. And so these are my two people I owe. Well, of course, my father, who I learned so much from.
Right.
You know, I mean, even though our film didn't do well, but it was an amazing learning experience for me.
Of course.
You know, with his experience and whatever. I mean, you know, a film is a film. Some work, some don't work. And I can say for myself, I didn't work in the film. When I look at it now, even back then, I kind of knew it. So, you know, and then to have, I mean, when my father was, you know, his knowledge of cinema technically and, you know, even commercially was you know, his experience was huge. So my two teachers were Feroz Khan and Ram Gopal Varma. So, you know, I mean, the learning curve for me was amazing. To whatever I'd learned, the basics of, you know, not just you know, not just it was an all round learning experience for me with my father, with acting, yes, but production, direction, behind the scenes, what it takes, you know, then working, you know, because my father used to work really closely with his DOP, so just you know how an actor needs to kind of, you know, work, just working as a team, and that was similar to with Ramu. So my learning curve just shot up, and you know, and then I had Pyar Tune Kya Kiya was something really different, and there was Love Ke Liye Kuch Bhi Karega with Ramu. So you know, it was incredible.
With Saif.
With Saif, Aftab, Twinkle,
Saif and Aftab, yeah.
Sonali Bendre, Aslam Bhai, Johnny
What a
Diva,
song. What a
Aslam
song.
Bhai. Yeah.
So, you know, we'll come to Love Ke Liye Kuch Bhi Karega. We'll come to Pyar Tune Kya Kiya as well, because that was the film that really made you a star. But you know, Jungle, the interesting part was that you were presented as a character. It was not that star element. How was that experience to be presented as an actor, as a character? There's Kashmir Shah who's playing a terrific character. I think Rajpal Yadav was there as well.
Yes.
And I think
Sushant,
fantastic.
yes,
Sushant
yes.
was there. Sushant was
yes.
outstanding.
Yes.
So they were terrific actors in their
Makran
own
Deshpande.
right. Makran Deshpande, of course.
And of course Urmila.
Urmila, definitely.
Yes,
you had some of your best works with Urmila.
No, I owe a lot to her as well. You know, I mean, at the time after Prem Aggan, not many people were wanting to work with me, and she, for some reason, you know, she also saw, I think, glimpses of me in Prem Aggan, and she was very happy to work with me. And so, you know, I have a debt of gratitude to her as well. You know, so that was very, very special for me.
No, definitely. And she is, I think.
And I've learned so much from watching her work. You know, we did two films back to back.
And she has groomed herself into becoming this very fine leader now. Like a
I watched some of her interviews.
Which
Yes,
is terrific. All right, so that element of being presented as a character, how was that?
I really didn't give it that much thought at that time, Faridoon. In terms of, you know, I was literally just being true to the scenes, being true to the emotion, being, you know, literally I was in the hands of this director whom I admired a lot, and Ramu is an extremely collaborative director, and he really, he meets his actors and his whole team, not just actors, but the rest of his technical team halfway, and he's very open to suggestions. I mean, for me, he used to sometimes tell me, "What do you think?" And I was like, "You're asking me?" Because I came from a very different school. My first film with my dad was, "Yes, this is your scene. This is what you do." You don't go beyond a certain point. But this was a very different experience for me. It was very collaborative. So I felt really, really a part of the creative process. On every level. And Ramu had this working style and culture of, I could call him RGV. I gave him the name RGV, by the way.
Okay.
I was the first one to call him RGV. I didn't like Ramu. I said, "Can I call you RGV?" And
Now,
he said,
now his Twitter handle is RGB Zooming.
yeah. So I called him RGV, and he just called me FK. So that's how it all started. So anyway,
Interesting.
yeah. So he was extremely collaborative, and that was a huge learning experience for me. To really tap into try to rewrite my lines, or try to rewrite a scene, or say, I had the freedom to tell Ramu, I don't think this is working, and I had to really think 10 times before doing it, whether it was the right thing to do or not, because it's Ram Gopal Varma, the Ram Gopal Varma who did Satya, who did
Fresh from Satya
Ravina.
and all.
I mean, wow, yeah. I mean, if there was any one person I wanted to work with, it was him, and I was working with him. So, and then he was so open to everyone's suggestions, and he used to sit down, discuss it, and then rework the scene, and he had this, and he's got this amazing. I mean, there were only two directors, to be honest, but now, of course, since I have, but there was my dad and Ramu, and in terms of they had the ability to really improvise the shooting of a scene right on the spot. They knew their camera, and they knew their camera techniques so well, and they were both editors, so they both knew how to. I mean, they were so strong in editing. They could literally change a scene all around. If there was a new location that needed to be done, it could just be done in a second. I mean, the only two guys I've worked with in my entire career so far who just not bothered about. They were not afraid of. They were not restricted by what the camera could do. I mean, the camera was like their best friend, like a little pen in their hand, and they just write with it. So it was amazing to work with them. So if as an actor you wanted to do something different, and Ramu was very receptive and open to that, but he would just change it here and there. Yeah, fine, do it, fine, good. We just change his camera, put it there, cut it here, take another shot, and done. So it was an amazing learning experience for me. In terms of, specifically in terms of the character, like I said, it was a contemporary character. It didn't really require me to, create something very specific. It was more young, contemporary, college-going kid, learning about life, living life, and stupidly in love. So I could relate to it in so many ways, and just living in the moment. So you just had to. I mean, at that it was very suited to my age. So I just had to draw from life in general. But yes, the effort was to be as authentic as possible.
All right, so I still remember when I was new to Bombay, and Pyar Tune Kya Hai released, and that was the first time that you were mobbed. The song became huge. I still remember. I think it was like a 1 crore song or something like that. It was huge for at that point of time. That
Pyar Tune Kya Kiya?
Yeah, the title track.
You mean the
Music video?
the budget of it was 1 crore?
Just the song, the music video, the budget was around 1 crore.
No, that was the song from Khushi.
But I think even for that particular title song, there were lots of reports that it was very lavishly mounted, and maybe I think the media reports about the budget were something. They can be all over the place.
It wasn't a crore. Let me just say that.
All right, but so the song was mounted lavishly. It became huge, and even your performance in terms of histrionics was appreciated. Urmila's performance was appreciated as well. How was that experience of getting that sort of recognition, and that feeling, that element of being a star?
Nothing really prepares you for something like that. When you're born to a family who's already in the business, you're probably better prepared for it, because you experience it through, in my case, I experienced it through my father's life and popularity and fame. But when it comes down to yourself, you wonder, what is it that... Okay, I'll go back. On some levels, you're really happy because it's testament to you've done something right. Your work is being acknowledged, people like you. If they didn't like you, they would not celebrate you, or want to be around you, or want to see your work. On one level, it's amazing because you feel you've done something right in terms of your popularity, your fame. It's a testament of what you've done having worked. That's the success of a film. What you've tried to create, what the emotional entertaining experience you've tried to sell, because that's basically what a film utility is, has worked. So that's very, very exciting. On a personal level, you wonder what the hell is it that they like about me per se, because they all feel like they know you. That's it's a very tricky equation between a famous person and his audience, or the people. You know, you kind of ask yourself, if they actually knew me, do you think they'd still like me? And the answer obviously is maybe, maybe not. So it's, and of course, that was my first time where I was exposed to a high degree of celebrity, on a personal level. So it does confuse you. So, but I mean, sometimes you enjoy it. Sometimes you get carried away and you behave like an ass. And but in my case, I surround myself with people who call me out on my bullshit. So there was a little bit of a phase where a few of my friends and a few people said, you're becoming an ass. So I completely, gave me a time to pause and think. I mean, I've never been badly behaved or obnoxious, but this, I mean, just they're like, you got to check yourself in. But so that was a learning curve for me. Of course, you enjoy it for what it is, and then I mean, I'm also very fortunate that I've been given a very authentic upbringing. Pretty strict, disciplined upbringing. Where values and principles and who you are mattered a lot. It's not about what you do, and not about fame, but it's about how you conduct yourself, and it's the principles, values, and morality and ethics. They're things that actually really matter. Uh, so that grounding has been very strongly instilled in me and my sister. So even though I'm sure there have been a couple of instances where I did get carried away with. I was enjoying it. I shouldn't even say get carried away. It's not that I was behaving obnoxiously, but I was enjoying it, and you just tend to let your guard down here and there. So it was fun. It was a hell of a ride.
Few of your films which may not have done that well, but in a way they've been talked about. In a way they've become cult now. When one looks back at them in terms of their recall value and the way they are shared, say on cable TV. I'm talking about Fida. I'm talking about
Yes.
Love Ke Liye Kuch Bhi Karega. I'm talking about Dev, for example.
Yes.
They've
Jagdish
Om Jai Jagdish for sure.
as well.
Yeah. So how do you look at these films now? And say Fida especially, I think your performance was really a knockout. Ken Ghosh's film.
Yes, no, that's definitely up there with in terms of when I meet people, that's always in the top 5 names that what do you call top 5 names of movies that people recall of mine. Fida's one of them. So they love my work in it. How does it feel? Was that your question?
Yeah.
It feels good that they still remember it after all these years.
Right.
That's, I mean, what more can you ask for as an actor, as someone who's trying to project a character, been part of a story? I mean, there's so many factors that are beyond your control in this business. I mean, ultimately you realize that what you can do is, I mean, whether the film is going to work or not work, I mean, that's not in your hands. We our effort is, of course, to make this emotional experience for people where they get entertained, and hopefully in some cases they take more than that back with them when they go home. They find some relevance to it on a personal level or in their life. But other than that, as just purely from an actor's point of view, if your film is recalled after many years and it's still in people's consciousness, and it's still relevant to them in some levels, or the fact that they just remember it is a huge compliment, because that's all you have within your control as an actor, to be honest.
Of course.
What you create and what you do between action and cut. And I was fortunate to have worked with I worked with some really accomplished filmmakers, who've I mean, whether our films have done well or not, but I've tried to do something different with a lot of my movies. Some differences have been subtle. I've tried to work across all genres, and I've been fortunate to have worked with some really good filmmakers who taught me so much.
Definitely.
And so I mean, all of these films which have had a recall value, have all been films where I've learned a lot, and the directors have always pushed me beyond my perceived capacity at the time, and
Right.
and of course, I mean, so much has changed now. Of course, but when you look back at the time, we all worked within a certain mold. We didn't have that much. I mean, especially if you're, in the lead or the protagonist or whatever it is, you were restricted to a certain mold. Uh, you had to do the romantic part, and you had to do a bit of action here, and you had to do a bit of comedy, and so it was. All films were specifically made to entertain across the audience spectrum, So then they have something for kids, and they have something for teenagers, and they have something for 30-year-olds. Because I mean, our primary film audience is between the ages of 13 and 35. I mean, that's the main chunk of your audience. So you were trying to cast as wide a net, but now that's all. The creative rules have completely been redefined.
No, absolutely. Okay, and so you've had some multi-starers that have worked, and that too with sick comedy. I'm talking about Hey Baby and All the Best, and Hey Baby especially. I think it became huge.
I was the first person signed for Hey Baby.
Right.
Sajid.
Sajid has said repeatedly.
Yes, so Sajid and me shook hands before anyone was on board, actually. Since we're working together, I said, yes, we're working together. Yeah, no, it was a great experience. Great experience. Sorry, I cut you off. What was your question?
Basically, the question is, comedy has worked for you in terms of box office.
Yes.
And you, I think, also said somewhere that it's a very difficult genre.
Oh, certainly it is. But yes, I found my biggest successes in comedy.
Yes.
Unexpectedly, and I mean, especially when I've done funny scenes, I never. I mean, it's funny. Sometimes we actors we see ourselves in a certain way, but sometimes it's exactly the opposite that works for you. So I never imagined finding success in comedy. So it was a hell of a surprise to me, and what was equally surprising was I enjoyed it so much. I really, really enjoyed it. Really letting go on every level, because that's what you have to do. You got to shed all sense of self-awareness, and you just literally got to be very, very true to the moment, and you got to be very, very focused, because timing is pretty much everything in comedy, and you really got to be in sync with your actors, and of course the writing. If the writing is good, the whole process is much easier in creating a laugh. But and of course the director. And I've been again fortunate to work with directors who are naturally funny and love the genre, whether it's Sajid or whether it's Anis Bazmi, or even the few scenes I did, like I mentioned, in Khushi with Surya. He was the director of Khushi. He's also got this funny bone, and Rohit Shetty, of course, is he's also got this very funny, entertaining side to him, and that he can find humor in pretty much any situation, even if you have a normal conversation with Rohit. So I was very, very fortunate to work with directors that understood comedy. Not just comedy for comedy's sake. We need to have some comedic scenes, so we just put it in there. And that in terms of really, really learning, taking your craft to the next level, it all came from those scenes and those movies. Because with comedy, you can't get away with editing. You can't get away with anything. It's literally your expressions, how you sound, and and comedy takes are generally long, because they always shoot long masters in comedy. It's not like cut and paste. No, So that really you know is extremely challenging, but yet very gratifying. You know, I mean, to get a laugh is not easy. You know, a genuine laugh from an audience.
Definitely.
And most gratifying thing was when the kids love it. Because now being a dad, when I look back, you try and get your kids to laugh, man. It's not easy.
It's the toughest thing in fact.
Yeah. So
Toughest thing
so
to
so
make
that's
kids.
so now I practice half of my comedic timing and acting with my kids. I make them laugh all the time. I completely behave like a complete ass in front of them, and we have a ball. And Pyare Mohan was another film I did with
Right.
Induji, but of course that didn't work. But you know, it was another great learning experience for me,
Vivek
that
Oberoi.
movie with Vivek. But just working with Induji, you know, I mean, he's one of the masters of the genre. And consistently throughout the years.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Hi, this is Fardeen Khan, and you're watching Bollywood Hungama.